Welcome back to the Line Podcast. My name is Aaron Alexander. This is a place that we bring together the world's leading experts in all things health and wellness to help you optimize your mind and your body and your movement. This particular conversation is a deep dive into the wild world of H2O, water. It's one of those things that is easy to just pass over and think of it as it's all just clear, goes in your body, does the same thing. But there is a whole vast difference between the various different waters that we could be imbibing, and that is what we get into in this conversation. We get into water filters, we get into water processing, we get into where our water comes from in the first place, and Tracy Duhs is the guest for today, and she has a book coming up soon that breaks down this conversation in even greater detail. She's also a friend, so we sat down at her place down in Southern California and had a pretty wacky conversation, just the girls, and so it was pretty fun, pretty silly, and it was good times. So I hope you guys devour this conversation, and I hope it changes your perspective on the meaning of the water that you put into your face. If you're interested in learning how to get that water into your connected tissue, into your cells, into your muscles, into your fascia, that is what we break down in the 6-week Align Method online program that can be found at alignpodcast.com/courses. On there, we go down week by week, step by step, how you can begin to understand how to effectively get your body out of pain, into strength, into confidence, and all of those things. The way that you move in your body is continually expressing the way that you feel, expresses who you are as a person. So when you walk into a room, the majority of your communication is coming from body language. When you're having a conversation with someone, the tone of your voice, the mannerisms, and your general postural patterns is the vast majority of what people are listening to. So there's a guy, Albert Moravian, that came up with a thing called the 55-38-7 principle back in the 60s. And essentially what that breaks down is that 55% of our communication comes from body language, 38 comes from the tone of your voice, and a little measly 7% is the actual words. Where this is relevant is when there's incongruence between any of those patterns. So if you say a thing, but your tone doesn't match the statement, or your body language does not match the statement, with 93% accuracy, human beings around you and animals and aliens and all the beings will trust your body language and your tonality over your words. So it's worthwhile to understand how to drive your body effectively. And that's what we break down in the 6-week Align Method online program. It can be found at alignpodcast.com/courses. Also, you can jump onto my Instagram at Align Podcast, and the bio link, you can find some information from there as well. I hope you guys had a beautiful new year. I hope you are smiling. I hope you are happy. And I hope you enjoy this conversation with the beautiful Tracy Duhs. Pow. Beautiful Tracy Duhs.
Dues, like pay your dues.
Pay your dues.
Yes.
I have a whole plethora of notes in relation to water contamination, pipes, water filtration systems, plastic bottles, and all of the things, because my mind is quite plebeian in the realm of water awareness. And I'm very excited to learn.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe more than like an average person that doesn't know anything about it, but I really enjoyed the process of researching what the heck it is that we're putting into our bodies we call water, because it seems like there's so many different variations of H2O.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to think that it's just like water is water is water. It's all clear and goes down your face.
Mm-hmm.
Like where do we start? What is water?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, we could talk about it forever and probably never even scratch the surface of it, because it's far beyond the atoms that come together and make these water molecules. It is, you're right, it's not H2O. When you're drinking a bottle of water, it's actually H2O, D2O, HDO. Those are the molecules that you're drinking.
I don't know what any of that means.
So deuterium is the D in it, and deuterium is the heavy isotope of hydrogen. It's like hydrogen's evil twin. So it's twice as heavy as hydrogen, and it's actually breaking the nanomotors of our mitochondria, and it's causing mitochondrial death. So it's making your mitochondria die off, which is making you die faster.
What's the constituents of tap water? Because I definitely talked to some people in my world who seem quite healthy, actually. And they're like, dude, tap water, no big deal. I rock it. It's all good.
Yeah.
And then I'm all high, mighty, new age, pretentious guy with like crystals and shit in my water bottle, which I don't actually have any crystals in my water bottle, but I do drink spring water, and I think it's nice.
Yeah.
What's the spectrum from tap water to mountain spring water?
Like you said, you're talking to your friends that look really healthy and they're drinking tap water. I think water is the source receiver of all information that it comes in contact with. So if those friends are really high vibrational beings, I don't doubt that you have the ability to transmute that in your system, but I don't want to choose to put that extra salt on my body. So the water that's coming from the tap has chemical and biological contamination in it. In America, when you live in America, we have regulations on the water so that it's not like in third world countries where you're going to drink the water and you could possibly die from giardia or something. Yep. We have regulations, but within those regulations, it's not to the standard that I would prefer. And the things that they're doing to kill off the biological contamination is causing chemical contamination in our body. That's not something that we want. So most people have a filter in their house because most of us are aware that even when you drink tap water, it just tastes a little off, or maybe you don't feel as good. Most people, you go to their house and you'll say, where's the water? And they'll go to the refrigerator. And it's like you press on the refrigerator and the water comes out of there. That's a carbon filter. So it's doing something, cleansing some of the chemical contamination. Then people will go a step further and they'll do like reverse osmosis, which those membranes are very comprehensive and it's going to clean out pretty much everything as well as the minerals that are in the water as well. And then some people do water distillation, which all of those things are great, but filtered water is very hard on the body because we need minerals inside of the water for us to have that osmotic balance between our intracellular and extracellular fluid. And what that means is basically in order to be hydrated, we need to have minerals in the water. Minerals inside of water is called electrolytes, and a liquid solution is called an electrolyte. So we need electrolytes because we're bioelectrical beings and we need that charge. So we need that. And then the next aspect of water is there's the physical aspect of it and the bioenergetics of the water. And we know that now that water is the source receiver of all information it comes in contact with. So everywhere that water's traveled, all of the chemicals it's come in contact with, we may have chemically removed it, but it still has that imprint of that frequency inside the water.
Can we wind back to the origination of water before it goes into a treatment facility, and what's like the origin story of water in the Western world as far as like the various different potential contaminants that could be in there, ranging from, I actually have a whole list of crap that I
go ahead and read.
Well, so mining is a thing. And so, byproducts from mining, and then animal waste, and then the petroleum industry, and then there's like the whole textile industry is a whole other thing that I didn't put down here, but that's the whole thing. Agricultural runoff,
nuclear,
and then, herbicides and pesticides, and then there's, I think, 1.2 trillion gallons of sewage is dumped into the U.S. water system annually. So there's like, that's painting a pretty gloomy picture of it. Is that as gloomy as it is?
Well, that's why we have these plants that they're taking care, they're putting these chemicals in it to kill off that biological stuff that's harming us. But living in the U.S., we have that advantage, but it's really not an advantage because the water is still, in my opinion, it's not something that is hydrating. My focus is on hydration, and I look at water as either being hydrating or not very hydrating, and the spectrum of how hydrating is this water for my body. Is it just going to kind of flush through my body? Because we can drink water and it just passes through, right? Wow. Or we can drink water and it can actually get into the tissue and it can get into the cells and create that structured water within our cells, which is charging our cells and making us feel alive and charged up.
I want to go down the track of like painting a story of the origination of the water. The next stage in that I'd be curious is So that's the origin. We use lots of different chemicals and birth controls and deodorants and perfumes and all these different things. They don't just stop. They go into our system and when they shit off of our skin, and then we pee them out, and then we poop them out, and then it goes to sewage, and then we process that, and then the process of processing, we're adding on the chlorines and the fluorides and the all the other different enes
to mask it.
So
basically, when you go into a swimming pool, what do they have in the swimming pool to protect you from people urinating and pooping in it and all of the nasty stuff that's in
chlorine,
there?
I guess, right?
Yeah, they chlorinate it and they use chemicals to basically kill it, so that you're like, but it's just masked. It's still there.
Yeah.
The signature of it is still in there.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people are saying, okay, a reverse osmosis filter is nice because those membranes are filtering that stuff out. But there's so much more to water, like you just said in the beginning, that it's not just H2O. That H2O is holding information inside of it.
What does that mean?
So that cell phone that you have is holding information, right? When you look at it, you've got your pictures and information that you've put inside of it.
A lot of dick pics and surf pictures of waves.
Okay.
Bunch of handstands.
Well, I haven't actually looked at your photos, so. Yeah. But, okay, you've got information in there. It's your proprietary information.
It's my special proprietary blend. The aligned cell phone. Yes,
and that's your information that you put in there. But it's carrying all that information, right? It's like Aaron Alexander is in that phone.
He's well in it.
So that is, when you look at a computer or a cell phone, it's called a cell phone for a reason. There's cells in it. All right. And those cells, when we look at, I don't know a lot about computers, but what I do know is it's a bunch of zeros and ones. They're holding information on and off switches, right? And that's holding the information. Zeros, ones, and those are put together. With water, it's holding information. The structured water within your cell is like, if you look at like a honeycomb, the way it's structured, that's the way it looks inside of the structured water inside of your cell, but it's in sheets. And the way that it's set up, it's like the hydrogen and the oxygen, and this is when we're getting into the physics of the water too, and that matters, how it's structured. But that's holding information. So the oxygen is holding information, but the potential of information that's held inside the water is so much more than the silica cells, because the oxygen has more potential. It goes from, we've got, if you look in basic chemistry, you can see how oxygen can go from like -2, -1, 0, +1, +2. It can hold more information than just zeros and ones, potentially more than 5 times more, but at least we know 5 times more information. So water's holding 5 times more information than those silica cells. So all of the information that's being put into that water from the frequencies it's come in contact with is held inside that water.
It sounds like you're getting into like metaphysical, what's this guy's name? Masaru Emoto?
Emoto.
Yeah.
I think Emoto's really cool. I mean, I love that he brought so much awareness to us to be able to look at water with those photos that he came up with. They're so beautiful, and it brought so much awareness to how water is influenced by.
Can you describe his experiments?
He did tons of experiments on it, but we'll talk about one, like tap water, the structure of that, and then water that's living water from a spring. And you look at a living water from a spring and it had structure to it. And the water that was from the tap there was no structure. It was dissonant. It was like chaotic.
It looked like scar tissue.
Yeah, I mean, they all look different, but it didn't look like it had any type of beautiful structure to it. The geometry of it, the physics of it all looked chaotic.
It was like chaos, whereas the other ones looked like these like
beautiful
divine snowflake structures.
Yes.
It was really gorgeous. Like sacred geometry shit.
I mean, a lot of scientists, though, will dispute his work. I've spoken to a lot of scientists that have different opinions on his work. But I'm grateful for his work because it brought awareness to us.
What do you know what they say the critique is? Because he's definitely accused of lots of pseudoscience, but I love it as a metaphor, and it's there's probably a lot of legitimacy to it, like most scientific research. It's it's not 100%.
Yeah.
Nothing that we're regurgitating from whatever study. It all has a bias, and science is seeking an answer. And when you're seeking an answer, you're probably going to find it. Mm-hmm. But I reference Emoto all the time just because I love the concept of it. Do you know what the contention around it was?
Yeah, so there was quite a few things, but I think one of the main things is that they were saying that he just would take thousands of photos and then just pick the best one. With science, you should be able to replicate your result over and over and over again. I mean,
is Emoto stuff not that replicatable?
Well, all water is so different. Like, just every snowflake has its own signature, right? So how could he replicate that exact same thing? I mean, but I think his work is something that I appreciate because it brought awareness. We all have this awareness now. We can look at those photos and they're indisputable. It's like, okay, this definitely is chaotic and this one definitely looks beautiful and there's organization to it. So it's brought so much awareness. And when people talk about structured water, usually Emoto's name is the name that comes up.
I don't really exactly know how to define structured water. What does structured water mean?
Okay, so that's the big question because so many people now are talking about structured water. But when you think about water's moving, right? All of those molecules are just moving. So how can they be in any sort of structure because they're constantly moving? There's a lot of people in different camps when it comes to that as far as whether you can actually structure water and drink structured water. But what we do know for sure is the work of Gerald Pollack. So his work is he was able to find the fourth phase of water, which is like that water isn't just liquid, gas, and solid anymore. It's actually a gel-like structure, and that's within the cytoplasm of the cell. There's this gel-like structure to the water, and he calls it easy water, H3O2, or fourth phase of water. And the way he describes that is like I had said before, it's almost like a honeycomb type of lattice that is in sheets. They're just lined up in sheets. And it looks kind of like a honeycomb, and it has that structure to it. And there's a polarity to the cell, too, that positive and negative charge. And that's what holds the structure inside of the cell. That gelatinous structure is that polarity around the cell. And so things that depolarize the cell are dissonant frequencies, such as EMF. That's why EMF, Wi-Fi, is deeply dehydrating to our cells because it's depolarizing the cell. And when you lose that polarization around the cell, it starts to liquefy the structure inside of the cell. And then when you don't have that structure and that polarization around the cells can't communicate with each other. And when they can't communicate with each other, they don't know, if this is a senescent cell, a healthy cell. They're unable to do their job. Our cells have this innate intelligence. They know exactly what to do to keep us healthy. It's just this assault that's on our body that's preventing that cellular communication.
Senescent means dying?
Yeah, sick cells.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. So it gets into another layer of the conversation of hydration okay, so there's the origin of water. What is water in the first place? And then now we're venturing into, what is the terrain that the water is inhabiting, i.e. like your body.
Yeah.
And so how does that H2DO, whatever, how is it actually able to permeate my cells? And are my cells actually able to process it? And that gets into like a whole nother realm of conversation.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? How do we work with the terrain? Terrain being a fancy word for you.
Yeah, the bioterrain's, it's everything, right? So your cells are only as healthy as the fluid that they're bathed in. And
the fluid that they're bathed in can only permeate to the degree that the cell is capable. Mm-hmm. They're interacting. It's two sides of the coin.
Definitely, like communication, right? Goes both ways. But what the cells are bathed in is really important because you could have a sick cell and put it in a healthy terrain and it could actually become healthy again.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing. So when we're talking about the water that we're drinking, the water that we drink becomes structured when it goes into the cell. Our body's creating structured water. So the controversy is whether you can structure water and then drink it and have structured water. But what I'd say is what we do know is that our body creates structured water inside of it if we give it high vibrational water, clean of contamination. We drink water that has the minerals that need to be in it. And if we can vortex the water to bring back that living signature, then it's going to be able to penetrate the cell wall better. And then we're going to be able to create that structure within.
What does vortex mean?
So vortexing is something that happens in nature. You've been to a living spring before, right?
Lots
Where water's moving. Yeah. So
I used to gather water in Bend, Oregon. Well, all over the place. But I had a place in Bend that I would go fill up my jugs every week.
So what's happening to the water?
I'm just going through all the nooks and crannies and crevices and ups and downs, gathering minerals and going through this really beautiful, chaotic, natural filtration experience.
Yes. I mean, so much is happening. so much is happening there. There's a lot happening there, but what's happening is the vortexing is it's moving, it's spinning, it's going in this, what is a vortex? Spinning, spiraling. And that's something that is happening in nature. Water loves to spin. It loves to vortex. It's not meant to move in these straight pipes, and water doesn't like to move that way. It's really interesting. Water has a mind of its own. It's alive. It's living. And we try to confine it. It gets angry. It's not happy.
But what's the value of that spinning versus just going straight down a pipe?
There's a lot of value to it. So I would say the positive and negative charge, the polarity that it's creating.
How do we speak to a skeptical person about, things that aren't like measurable in a beaker type thing? Or is this measurable in a beaker?
Well, it is measurable. We're able to measure a lot about water. But for somebody that doesn't want to listen to the science, I would just say, how do you feel when you're next to the ocean? When you walk next to the ocean, it's indescribable how you feel, right? As opposed to like, if you're sitting, like we're sitting under these lights right now, if I was under these lights all day long and just sitting here, or if I was sitting at the ocean or walking, how would my body feel?
Yeah, better.
There's a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to the water that's just sitting and been adulterated by chemical contamination, or water that's in nature that's doing its thing the way it's supposed to do it.
Yeah. And so what about filtration systems? Like what's the top tier? What's like the just getting by? Like if a person they don't want to spend more than, maybe $50 or a couple $100, but they don't want to just be drinking tap water. Mm-hmm. Like what's the levels to that?
Yeah, there's so many levels to it. So I would say the first thing that I would do to upgrade my water is definitely get away from plastics, because water is the ultimate solvent on the planet. So whatever water's inside of or next to, it's going to draw from. What is plastic made out of? Chemicals. So we're going to be getting that, not only the vibrational signature of the chemicals, but we are going to be actually getting the physical contamination of the chemicals. So we want to stay away from that. And we want to make sure that we stay away from purified water. That word purified, just stay away from that. Because purified water is hungry water. It's going to be drawing minerals, and we want water that's going to be balanced, so that the minerals in our body, between our intracellular, extracellular fluid, there's this balance, there's this dance, so that the waste can come out of the cell and the nutrition can go into the cell. When there's that balance, we have healthy cells. So when you drink filtered water, it's, in my personal opinion, I believe it's more dehydrating to the body.
Couldn't you just remineralize it and throw a pinch of sea salt in there?
Yeah, so that's a great question. That's an upgrade, to throw a pinch of sea salt in there.
Yeah.
I like to add trace elements to the water. You want to look at the mineral content, at least I love Quinton. I'm obsessed with Quinton, and I have no affiliation with the company, but I love it because it is cold processed and it has all 78 trace elements that should be in our blood plasma, because our blood plasma should be identical to the ocean's plasma. So when you look at those two, they should be exactly the same. So when we get the ocean plasma and we get all 78 trace elements, it's giving us the building blocks for life that we need, feeding our cells that. So trace elements from the ocean are fantastic. You want to be careful, not all are the same. The way that they're processed makes a huge difference. You don't want it to be heat processed. You want it to be cold processed, because it actually becomes oxidative when you heat those minerals.
Is it pricey to get the trace mineral supplement?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you call pricey. If somebody's getting a Starbucks or some coffee every single day, it's like a third of the price. I think it's like $1.50 a day. So I don't go out and drink every day coffee or something like that. So that's my thing that I do.
What's the company you recommended?
It's called Quinton, Quinton.
Quinton. Sounds like it's from space.
It should be. It's so miraculous. It's actually processed in Spain, but the name is from the Frenchman René Quinton that found out and discovered the ocean's plasma. So in the early 1900s, 1905, I think it was when he died, but he discovered that the ocean's plasma was identical to the plasma in our blood. And he started...
What does that mean, ocean's plasma? That's a new concept for me.
The plasma is a thing inside of the ocean. It's basically this liquid that has the minerals inside of it and all of the nutrition that we need. So the plasma inside our blood is the building blocks to create red blood cells inside of our body. So this is the living mineral side of the ocean that creates life inside of the ocean. The ocean is like far beyond the earth, right? Anything that we have on the earth, the plants, the animals that are in the ocean, it's just vast. And we need that plasma in the ocean. That's the building blocks for everything that's inside of there. That is identical to what our blood plasma is. And actually, they're doing some research. They've been doing research, the Quinton company, and they've found out that they did this study that they took the blood out of this pig, drained the blood out of the pig. I know it's really sad, but they drained the blood out of the pig, and they reinfused it back with Quinton, isotonic Quinton. The pig, as it was about to expire, came back to life.
Wow.
They did the same thing again to another pig, let the blood out, and then tried to put the blood back into the pig, and the pig still died.
Interesting.
So there's something beyond just the minerals. We're realizing that in this Quinton, it's actually a living signature, a living vibration, because it's in a double tip ampule as well, which...
What does that mean?
This holds this energetic frequency inside of it. That is something that they haven't yet been able to quantify, but they know that it's something far beyond what they...
Oh, so what is double tip ampule? I don't know anything about this. Is like an instrument?
Yeah, so double tip ampule. So it's in like a glass tube that has like the point at each end. I wish I had brought one on.
Double tip ampule?
The double tip ampule.
Where's my damn double tip ampule?
Double tip ampule. So it holds this energetic frequency inside of it, and it's just powerful. I give it to everybody I know.
You're gonna give me one?
I'll give you one. You've got to try it. I literally ordered a pallet of this stuff. Okay, I just spent $25,000 on the double tip ampule. Yeah. Because I was like, no, I'm like, I need to give one to every single person that I come in contact with.
I want to take a quick moment and thank our sponsor for supporting our nervous systems with some delicious magnesium. Magnesium is one of those supplements that I actually purchase with my own money. And the reason for that is it is largely deficient in modern day soil. So you can be eating all the different foods that have the magnesium, but in fact, there's a good chance you're still deficient, which is why I ingest magnesium in supplement form along with eating it. I typically try to lean on eating whole food for all of my nutrients. And And magnesium is one of those ones that I go for. It's great for sleep if you're having issues with that. If you want to calm your nervous system down, it's helpful with muscle tonicity. So it's essentially like one of the primary governors of the electricity in your nervous system. So if your magnesium levels are off, your nervous system is going to be a little bit wacky. So I recommend getting some magnesium in your life and recommend getting it through Biooptimizers. If you want to get yourself a sweet discount, you can go to biooptimizers.com/align. That's BIOPTIMIZERS.com/align. Biooptimizers.com/align for a 10% discount on their Mag Breakthrough Magnesium. Includes all 7 different forms of magnesium. It's delicious. I take it every night. And 100% money back guarantee. So nothing to lose. Your whole nervous system and sleep and muscle soreness, being aches and pains going away to gain. It's good stuff. So I recommend it. Biooptimizers.com/align. Enjoy the rest of the conversation.
I almost lost my daughter. We both almost died because I had a mineral imbalance. And this is why I'm so passionate about water and hydration and all these things, because my daughter and I almost died because I was mineral imbalanced. And
why were you mineral imbalanced?
I have no idea. Maybe the environment I was in, I don't know. I grew up drinking tap water. I have no idea. But when I was pregnant, I was so thirsty, like beyond. I couldn't quench my thirst. It was like I would wake up with my tongue literally stuck to the roof of my mouth. I felt like I had been walking through the Sahara Desert for like days without water. I've never done that, so I don't know what that feels like, but I can only imagine, and that's what I imagine it is.
How stressed were you at that time?
Very stressed. So obviously that consumes minerals. I was in a relationship that was didn't feel safe, you know? And I could not quench my thirst in this situation, and it was like, oh my God, I'm drinking. Did
you have adrenal fatigue as well at that time?
I don't know. I mean, I was so young. I've never drank coffee, never did drugs, never drank alcohol. So I don't know. I didn't have my adrenals tested, but there's a possibility. I mean, I know aldosterone is a big part for holding hydration in the system, but I think I had my aldosterone tested and it was normal. But I don't know. I don't know what was going on, but I do know that it had something to do with minerals, because when I would drink purified water, it was worse. It almost felt worse. Like, oh my gosh.
Well, then that water it's grabbing the minerals that you
Yes. I could drink a gallon of it, and it was like, no matter how much I drank, it was not enough.
Yeah.
Literally, this is how dehydrated I was. I would wake up in the middle of the night and I couldn't open my eyes because my eyelids were stuck to my eyeballs. I had to, like, with my eyes shut, go to the sink and put water on my eyes.
So this was going beyond diet, you think, or this was primarily diet?
Definitely not diet-based, because I was eating a very
what
clean
the hell do
diet.
You think it was then?
I mean, I was like raw vegan.
Stuff? Just like some emotional stuff?
I think there was a lot of emotional stuff going on, Aaron, and that's why I decided to go back and go to school and really research this, because through my studies, when I went back to school, I realized that our emotions are imprinting every single molecule in our body. Those water molecules are being imprinted and influenced by our thoughts more than we could ever even imagine. And that's why we talked about, like, the cell phone, how much it's holding. Our body's holding millions, if not billions times more than that cell phone.
Sure. Yeah, or books.
But it's the frequency. It's the imprint of that energetic frequency, those thoughts, those emotions. All of that's being held inside of those water molecules. And the emotional state that I was in during that time was very distressed, for sure. And as we know, when you're in a time of distress, you want to up your mineral intake because it's consuming minerals in your body. That definitely was something that at such a young age, I didn't know what was going on or why I was so dehydrated. But what I did know at that time was when I drank different types of water, it felt different. So then I started just like playing with different water, and I noticed that certain types of mountain spring water were the only things I could drink to actually satisfy the thirst.
When you say mountain spring water, do you mean the company or do you mean spring water from a mountain?
Just spring water from a mountain. But not all are the same because some of them have been treated differently and adulterated. And so some of them didn't hydrate me, but some did. And so I just, I had to have my mountain spring water in order to literally survive.
And so you noticed an immediate change in your health once you started drinking some spring water?
A little bit of a change. It wasn't dramatic, but it was enough that it was like, okay, my thirst feels a little quenched.
Yeah.
As opposed to filtered water, it was like I felt worse. And which is strange, right? Because you think like, okay, you just drank some water, but I felt more thirsty. So then I started playing with herbs, like nutritive herbs, like nettle tea and horsetail and things that had a lot of minerals, herbs that had a lot of minerals to provide for my body. So when I started doing those teas, that was when I started noticing, okay, feeling a little better now. And it took a while, though, for my body to rebuild that plasma, inside of my system to start to get healthier.
So if someone's stressed or wakes up with a dry mouth, obviously there's the way that you're breathing could be or will absolutely be impacting that. One thing, I tape my mouth when I go to sleep. That's something I mentioned in the nose breathing chapter in my book and it sounds completely insane. And as I was writing it in, I was just like, oh, this is like...
No, I always nose breathe.
I'm going to get arrested for even putting this in here. This is not a good idea.
That's a practice. When I run, make sure my tongue is on the spot.
When you sleep, does your mouth open?
Just closed.
Oh, good for you.
I wake up and my tongue's on the spot. That's the first thing I think about. Where's my tongue? Where's my mouth?
Oh, good. So you wake up with a moist mouth.
Yeah.
I gotta work on my shit.
Yeah, it's important, and it affects your jawline. It affects everything.
That's why I have a beard, because I've got a floppy jawline.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure, Aaron. We've all seen your jawline,
Gosh, no.
Quite floppy.
So fundamentals, because we're gonna wrap this thing up. So fundamentals, what do people need to know, like nuts and bolts? Where do we get started leveling up from if you're drinking from the tap or drinking from what's the low end of filters to get us going into? And then from there, do we mineralize it? Also, do we refrigerate the water? Do we drink cold water? Is there something to the structuring of water with when you do put it in a dark place, in a cold place?
Dark place, yeah.
Throw in some minerals in there. Can that essentially replicate, the same thing that would happen if you bought a $1,000 water structuring device?
There's good, better, best, right? In everything. If somebody's not willing to invest any money into their water, which I think we can all do. We can all cut something out. If we're 98.9% water molecules, we can all cut something out to upgrade our water.
What does that mean? I've always regurgitated that we're 70 to 80% water. What is this?
That's by mass. So the water, that's true. 70. It depends. When you're born, you're about 90%. When you die, you're...
Well, you're just like a little puddle of...
Aging is basically dehydration, a slow dehydration process. So there's different types of molecules in your body, but 98.9% of them are water molecules. But when you're talking about mass or weight, things like bone is more dense and it weighs more. So that's going to be the percentage that we're looking at. But when we're looking at, or the 60 to 70% water, but if you're looking at the molecules of water, that's different. So a lot of people get confused about that. But you're right when you say, oh yeah, I'm about 70% water.
Depends on the day.
Yeah, depends on the day, right? Yeah. Depends on the kind of water you're drinking, too.
That, too. So, basic bitch water filter, what's the low end that it's we're doing better than tap and I'm getting hydrated? What's your recommendation? Is there a brand that you think is great?
I mean, I think if somebody just doesn't want to spend any money on that, they can go to Amazon and get these charcoal sticks. They're from Japan, and you put them in your water, and it's going to absorb a lot of toxins. It's not as...
So you just put the stick in the cup of water?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you
can just soaks that shit up. Damn.
Yeah.
Like an onion.
Yeah.
Do you know about that?
Like a sponge.
Do you know about that the onion stuff? They used to do this during the times of some plague or something like that. They'd put onions out and they would apparently they act like sponges for the air and they pull out bacteria and such. So if you leave an onion sitting out, you don't want to eat it. So says plague times.
Yes,
I.e. now, I guess.
That is true.
So you think the basic bitch low end is get yourself some charcoal sticks? I never even heard of that.
Basic bitch low end, yeah.
Damn.
Charcoal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's if like somebody does not want to do anything, right?
All
and
right,
then
what's the next level of that?
And then okay, so then you would take that.
Yeah.
No, Brita filter's worse. Just get the charcoal. Brita's.
What do we do with Brita? Nothing.
Throw that out. That has its own. I'm not even gonna say. Just we don't want Brita filter.
And it's sitting in plastic.
There's many things, and I don't like to talk bad about companies. I'm just gonna say I would prefer not.
No, we're
to
gonna take Brita down.
I would prefer not to use Brita. Let's get.
I'm ready.
Just
I
go
want
on.
to burn it all
Go
down.
on Amazon. You can get some charcoal sticks, and you can put those in your water. Get a glass vessel, preferably like an egg-shaped glass vessel would be amazing.
Why an egg? Oh, because it does that funneling effect.
That's going to help with that positive and negative charge and help the water do its own type of movement vortexing.
Do you write adorational
You could
messages
write
on your glass
beautiful
vessel?
words on it if you want. Think beautiful things when you're pouring it. Absolutely. That's
always a good idea.
Think about all the water molecules that are in the air around you and how your thoughts are imprinting those water molecules. Have you ever walked into a room after somebody was in a huge fight or angry with each other?
Or broke wind.
Well, it's left a little bit of a signature inside the air, right?
It's a flavor.
There's a signature, yeah. There's a signature inside of there. Yeah. So all of that is imprinting the water, these signatures, these thoughts. We don't want to drink water that someone has broke wind around. That's for sure. Yeah. All of those poop molecules.
Yeah, they're there. If you smell them, there's a physical particle.
Of course.
Grab it.
Absolutely.
That's real talk. All right,
okay.
So what's the next one? So,
anyways.
So we're taking down the Brita company. That's what we've established.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheaper just to buy some charcoal sticks on Amazon, right? Okay, so we're going to take those. Put them in a egg-shaped vessel.
Great.
And, you can leave that overnight. Take the charcoal out. And you can put some sea salt in it. I mean, this is not my highest recommendation, but we're talking about, like, the basic.
This is like college dorm.
This is like college dorm basic.
To give a shit about myself.
Okay. So we got the charcoal. Leave it overnight. Take it out. Put a little sea salt in it or bicarbonate salts, whatever you want to put in. I love bicarbonate salts. And then you want to put it back in the refrigerator. So there is something to that cold, dark place for 7 to 8 hours. And it's going to help restructure the water, bring it back. And there you go.
All right.
Basic of basics right there.
I have a feeling most dorm room basic bitches will not do that. Is there some filter that the basic bitch could procure?
I
mean, all filters whack in the low end. How much money do I need to spend to get a meaningful filter? Can I get an RO filter, reverse osmosis?
But we spoke of, the RO filter is hungry water. That's filtered water.
So we don't do RO.
Talked about
RO's on the no-no list.
RO can be. We break water down to build it back up, right? So that's the broken down version of it. So we've taken the tap water and broken it down.
So then you need to.
But we need to rebuild it.
And do all the things.
Yeah. So
RO could.
So
be okay.
RO isn't bad. It's part of the process of breaking it down.
Right.
But that's the basic broken down. We do not want filtered water. If I can leave anybody with anything today, it's like, please stay away from filtered water. We need minerals in our water.
Stay away from filtered water unless we drip some minerals in there?
Yes.
Or stay away, period?
Stay away from just drinking filtered water by itself.
What if you're drinking water and you're eating a salad with some salt on it?
Yeah, so no. We need to have... We need minerals in the water. It's very important. We are bioelectric units. You wouldn't leave your cell phone uncharged for 3 days. How do we charge our cells? We need what? Electrolytes.
Jesus.
And that's minerals in a liquid solution. Minerals in a liquid solution equals electrolytes. So we need minerals inside of our water to charge us up.
All right. I'm with that. Do we need to move?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes. There's been new studies, and you probably know more about this than me, but the studies that are showing that there's water droplets on fascia.
Yeah. Glycosaminoglycans.
Yes. And so how does that move? It's like this network, right? And the fascia is like the body's network, like the web of the body, the internet, and it's like everything's moving, and as you move your body, you're moving that hydration, hydrating the tissues.
You're seeing the documentary Mini Docs. For people listening, I highly recommend you watch Strolling Under the Skin. Have you watched that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, we can watch it together.
Let's watch it.
We can have like a pillow fight and watch Strolling Under the Skin.
Yes.
Just a couple of girls.
Okay, let's do it.
I think that'd be lovely. So Strolling Under the Skin, there's these they were, what was it? I think they were doing some type of surgery, cosmetic surgery, but they took cameras and they'd go underneath the skin, the subcutaneous layer, and they go through and they were watching in real time. I think they were like 25 timesing the image, maybe even a little bit more than that, something like that. And they could see this crystalline lattice structure that is your connective tissue, your fascia, and the extracellular.
And think about that. That's a crystalline lattice structure as well.
All water. And when that tissue is, and this kind of gets into like the realm of body work and physical therapy and manual therapy and all that. But when that tissue becomes agglomerated, which is a 50-cent word for stuck, bound together, then it essentially becomes a dam, and then it's not that fluid isn't able to perforate, and then it gets dried up and turns into like beef jerky as opposed to like a tenderloin.
Yeah.
And then that information isn't able to pass.
Yes.
Damming begets more damming.
Like scar tissue. That's what happens with scar tissue. It dams and it's not able to move through that network.
Oh.
Yes, that's why scar tissue is bad. That's why maybe, you've got shoulder pain, but it's like an ankle injury that you had before, that there's scar tissue that's causing the referred pain somewhere else.
That can happen too.
Yep.
And so an interesting, just side note with the whole thing, getting into the movement conversation, like your body is obviously, a lot of water. And
just a little. Yeah.
So you're a closed hydraulic system, and your body demands movement in order to be able to circulate all those fluids. And so something that's like a no-brainer for people listening would be like getting your body in more contact with surfaces by, you could spend some time laying on the ground instead of always sitting in like the same hunched over, agglomerated, bound up, stuck position. Because those joints, if you have a specific joint, your shoulder, your lungs, your heart, your spine, your pelvic floor, your knees, whatever, if they're repetitively in that same range of motion over and over and over again, it literally starts calcifying and binding in those areas, and then you have little dams inside your body. And now that fluid is trying to come in to heal that area, and it just bunks off the side. And now you spend $1,000 on a water structuring thing. You got the trace minerals from planet Plutar. You got charcoal shit in your, whatever. And it still doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
Because you don't move.
You're not moving.
What do you think about twerking for hydration?
Twerking's amazing for hydration.
Get that cerebral spinal fluid.
Absolutely.
You got to wind it up.
One of the best things you could do for that cerebral spinal fluid.
Can you wind it up?
I'm working on. I have to be honest with you, Aaron. I'm working on it. I'm not that great at it.
Yeah.
My friends are helping me. Lorelai, the one that's just here, she's good at that. She
seems like she can wind it up.
She winds it up.
All right, so we got to move. We need a little sunlight.
We have to move, and then we need sunlight.
Yep.
Sunlight is awesome for creating metabolic water. I mean, our body actually creates about 1 liter to 1.5 liters of its own water. The mitochondria are creating it, and that's from the hydrogen from the food that we're eating and the oxygen from the air we're breathing. They're hungry to be together, and they create.
Hold on. What does that mean exactly? Your mitochondria are creating water. What does that mean? I never heard this.
Really?
I don't know a lot of things, Tracy.
Yes, you do. You're so smart.
Well. So where is it coming from? I mean, it's like taking water from food and such.
No.
Literally, it's like I'm a little mitochondria, kapow, water.
Part of the process of creating energy, ATP, ADP process, it's creating water as well. So the hydrogen from the food that you're eating, the energy, and the oxygen from the water or the air that you're breathing are coming together inside the mitochondria.
Oh, it's binding the H2O.
It's coming. They're hungry to be together. It wants to be together. It's binding together. A lot of people think that camels in the desert have water in their humps. That's a huge myth. They actually have fat in their humps because that's the most potent form of hydrogen, right? It's like hydrogen to hold. Let me just store this hydrogen here for when I need it later to create water because I'm going to go in through the desert. All desert animals are very efficient creating their own metabolic water. They've evolved that way. And so they use the fat storage to create that water. So in order to create more metabolic water, which is the purest water there is, deuterium depleted water, in fact.
Boy. Now we're getting into the high level.
Yes, the deuterium depleted water, in fact, which is
this is beyond
the most beautiful water you could think of. Your cells created. So what better thing to do than make your cells more efficient? How do you make your cells more efficient? There's many ways, but one of them is getting sunlight on your skin because that's activating your mitochondria. Making sure that you're getting healthy fat. I love ghee. I think ghee is an amazing form of healthy fat that doesn't oxidize easily, and that is a form of hydrogen that we can use to make water within our cells. Walking barefoot on the ground, charging your cells up is giving you that charge potential so that now our mitochondria are more efficient so they can make more metabolic water.
Great. What else? So we got to wind it up.
We got to wind it up.
Barefoot. Get a little
So I have 9 points, 9 pillars of health that I call them the 9 pillars, and these are the things that activate hydration in the body. The main things are hydration. So we want to drink water, drinking good water. We want to ground. We want to get minerals. We want trace elements. We want to get nutrition. We want to get sunlight. We want to have movement. We want to have creative playtime. That's like a huge part of it. You got to play, right? In order for your mitochondria to be happy.
Got to.
Yes.
I describe play as the top of the movement hierarchy.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's very complex play. It's a big deal. It's dance, creativity, role playing, all that. Like if you can integrate effective movement mechanics with
essential.
all those other layers,
essential.
You're a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and another part that I think is essential to hydration is loving, connected community. If we don't have that, our body's going to be in distress.
Yeah.
We're not going to be charged. We're not going to have that charge potential like my situation with my daughter being minerally imbalanced. I really believe not having that loving, connected community was draining my cells of the energy that they needed. So we need that loving, connected community in order to be fully hydrated. What a concept.
That's great. And
then sleep. Sleep is essential for our mitochondria to be happy and creating this metabolic water and helping our cells to create structured water within the cell that's charging our cells up and allowing them to talk to each other so we can be fully healthy. So those are my 9 pillars.
Great. I'm with that. I think your cells, they don't have, I wrote this and I've wrote this before, so it sounds rote. I apologize. Rote, like, is that how you spell that word? R-O-T-E? When something's like repetitive and already been, whatever. But your cells don't have eyes, but they can, they can feel your movement. They can feel what you're doing.
They have receptor sites.
Yeah. Yeah. So
they know everything.
Yeah. And then there's like the psycho-emotional component of it, like the way that you feel when you feel in love. That's like you can feel your heart expanding. You can feel your chest move.
Yeah.
And then when you feel out of love, it's like the other side of that.
Yeah.
If you get really jacked up, you can go into broken heart syndrome.
Yeah.
Which is like a legit thing where I think it's your left ventricle starts to kind of fire funny. People can actually die from broken heart. It's called like Takimoto. It's got a fancy Japanese other name. I like broken heart syndrome. It's easy to remember.
At the Brain Summit, a cardiologist came and spoke about that and how it's affected by emotional health and the brain. And
people are complex. Layers.
But it is amazing how when you have these thoughts and you're really emotionally broken, how it affects the physical body.
Oh yeah, it's all tied up.
Well, and then
you can give yourself a jump start through getting some sun and getting some good food and getting some exercise and getting some inspiration and all that, and that can tie back into creating more meaningful relationships because it's all integrated. But we're listening to Line Podcast, we've already established that. You drank the Kool-Aid. All right, where do people go to learn more about you? You also host your own podcast, and so you have a book coming. When is the book coming?
Yes, the book should be out Valentine's Day.
What is Valentine's Day? What date?
February 14th, I think.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Congratulations. We'll put this out soon before that then. Hopefully.
Yeah, so the book's called Hydrate with Tracy Duhs. Yes, it is. On my website. Yeah, tracyduhs.com.
Great.
You can order the book.
Bam.
You're going to learn all those things about hydration that we talked about, those 9 pillars of health, and I give my tips on what I do personally to achieve that, and I make it fun. Everything's about being playful, right? I try to make everything playful.
Is there any type of incentive for a person to procure the pre-sale?
Yeah, it will be signed. It'll be a signed copy.
And I'm going to personally do a little lipstick kiss on 2 of the books. We're going to throw that in there.
That's what you want? That's your request?
I would like to be a part of your incentivization process. And I will do 2 lipstick kisses.
Oh, you're going to add those. Whose lipstick are you going to wear? Or you have your own?
I'll get something organic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
No phthalates.
here you go, guys. 2 people that order from this show will get my book signed by me and the signature kiss from Aaron Alexander.
Hey, Aaron. Cool. Thank you so much. What a fun conversation. All right. Is there anything else, or we wrap this bitch up?
I think we wrap it up.
You gotta say we wrap this bitch up.
We wrap this bitch up.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Over and out. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. If you did, you could share it with your friends. On the Instagram is a great place, or anywhere that you do your shares. If you do, tag me at Align Podcast, and you could also tag Tracy Duhs at TracyDuhs. And thank you so much for reviews on iTunes. Thanks so much for sharing this with your friends. Thanks for just doing you. Thanks for following along. This podcast and the online programs and the books and all that stuff, that all exists because of you. It exists because of your support. You are the driver of all of this stuff. So I appreciate you, and wouldn't be able to do it without you. So feel free to reach out on the Instagram Align Podcast anytime. Happy to field questions, and I hope you have a gorgeous rest of your week.